Welcome to the Uncle Goof podcast. Today, I'm thrilled to have the incredible Angela King Twitero joining me. Angela splits her time between San Antonio, Texas and Los Angeles, California, and she's a trailblazer in the world of performance wear. As the founder of House of AKD and Angela King Designs, Angela has spent more than 35 years designing cutting-edge uniforms for professional dancers and cheerleaders across the nation. But that's not all. Angela is also one of the original members of the San Francisco 49ers Gold Rush dance team, making her a pioneer in the cheerleading community. Beyond her career, Angela is a dedicated wife and proud mother of 4. I'm excited to dive into Angela's inspiring journey from her time on the field with the 49ers to building a thriving business in the world of dance and performance apparel. So grab a seat and get ready. Here's my conversation with the one and only Angela King Twitero. Hi, and welcome to the Uncle Goof podcast. Today, I have a wonderful guest that I've known for quite a long time, my good friend Angela King Twitero, also known as Angela King in the various industries in which she's worked. Welcome to my podcast, Angela.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Thanks. I really appreciate you joining me on this venture that I'm going on here. I understand. First of all, let's talk. You're coming to us from the San Antonio, Texas area. Is that correct?
Yep, I'm sitting in my office right here at Angela King Designs, where you can kind of see some things around me, but we've got full production happening in the production room. It's been a very busy week, and yeah, I'm in Texas.
Great. And you also spend time in Los Angeles. We'll talk about that in a little bit because I want to talk about travel and relationships and networking and all that fun stuff. But really why I wanted to have you on is because I've known you for a long time, and I've had mad respect for you as a woman, as a person, as a friend, but also as an entrepreneur, small business owner. And I know that you and I have had many conversations over the years about addressing challenges, opportunities, and that sort of thing in business. And I just want to hear a little bit about your business to start with, and then we'll get into some other things.
Well, the business, we're going on our 35th year. So we're kind of the institution in uniform wear for professional sports and dance teams and promotional teams and cheerleaders in pro sports, the upper level collegiate teams. We're global. We provide for uniforms for teams all over the world, a lot in Japan and in Europe, Mexico, and Canada. And 35 years we've been doing just this. I started with the whole theory. I was a professional cheerleader and a professional dancer. And at the time, 35 years ago, there was not a dancer creating uniforms for this type of dance and performance. And as I was wearing these uniforms, I knew there had to be a better way. There had to be someone who knew how they should fit and knew how you would want to feel when you were wearing them that should be making these uniforms. And, people don't, it always looks good from a distance in photos, that sort of thing, but there's so much goes into a performance. There's an aid to a dancer's performance and the way that they feel about themselves based on what they're wearing. I think, anybody can understand, putting on something in the morning and feel good about the way you look and the way that you hold yourself and the way that you present with other people. You just feel better when you feel like you look good and you feel good and you're confident in what you're wearing. That's what my goal was to bring to the professional sports industry. And I think we did it. Our amount of time of years in business and the customers that we've had for 35 years, and counting, it's pretty remarkable, really. And it really makes me feel good to know that what I set out to do, we accomplished.
Right. No, and you sure have accomplished a lot. And, clearly your reputation is strong, as has been from the beginning. You come from a place of authenticity and experience where, you said you were a professional dancer, cheerleader. I know that because we got to work together back in the heyday of the San Francisco 49ers. And boy, what fun that was. And but also, things have changed over the years a lot. I mean, the athleticism, the type of dance, the type of people that are dancing, that are professional cheerleaders and performers. Tell me a little bit about how you've been able to keep up with those changes and stay ahead of the curve.
I am so proud of the evolution of this industry. I'm proud of, back in 1983 where I started with it, and to watch how it's evolved and to be a part of the evolution. Yes, talent has become extreme. Back in 83 when we started, we were talented. Everyone was talented. Everyone was good. But the level of athleticism has taken a step, just like any other sport. Mm-hmm. This is a sport. Dance is a sport. Cheerleading is a sport. And so to watch the evolution in terms of the athletes, in terms of our customers, and what their performance demands. So it's kind of fun on my end that I get to design so that everyone kind of understands. I don't design like other designers. We don't design a fall collection and a spring collection, that's not how this industry works. I'm designing new every day. So customers will come to me, and they may be starting a year out, they may be starting 2 months out, but they have a need. There's some sort of demand placed on them for image and to dress their team. Mm-hmm. So I have to pull from all areas of my brain and maybe the influence of current fashion, the influence of current sport uniforms. I have to pull from all those things because we're designing constantly, and every design is different. We have such pride that over the years we do not duplicate. So if one team customer of ours is wearing a particular look, a particular skirt, and there's another customer that comes along, we aren't going to duplicate it. That's what sets us apart. One of the things that sets us apart in our industry, and that our customers can rely on, they can trust, is that we are going to develop for them and their needs, and they're not going to look like another team, just in different colors. So in this evolution of uniforms, we may be integrating current fashion. Mm-hmm. We may be integrating demands from the organization itself. If I'm typically always under some sort of non-disclosure agreement, because teams are developing new logos, new colors, new branding. Maybe they're building a new stadium. So they will bring me in to sit with them to understand what their goals are, what they would like to achieve. And also, if Nike, say, is involved on getting new player uniforms, I'll come in and integrate with that process so that their performance teams, whether it's cheerleaders or brand ambassadors, anybody other than the football players, now we can take that branding and we can make it consistent all the way through their performance teams or their promo teams. So it's my job, and something I take very seriously, the non-disclosures, but also to take that branding as it is set out in their logo slicks, in their marketing packages, to take that branding and deliver exactly what they want.
Yeah, that's amazing. And let's sort of translate this, or not translate it, but to connect it to relationships here, because there are myriad vendors out there doing all kinds of different things, but you've had longevity in this field. It's a niche field, obviously, but there are a million people that design. Some people want to go with actual name designers. Some people want to go with the big brands like a Nike or somebody else. But you've been able to insert yourself kind of across the board with name designers, with brands, and with your own looks. But let's talk about how the relationships have played into that. Just because you're good at it, which you are, doesn't give you the opportunities always. It's because of the relationships that you have, right? So how have you managed to cultivate and build those relationships and grow those relationships over the years to help you in the long run with your business?
the relationships have been very important, because getting your foot in the door does matter on who it is, who do you know. And once you do that, then word of mouth and things like it, that will happen, but you have to deliver. It doesn't matter if they're your friends and you've known them forever. The relationships I have that I'm, going on 35 years with are people that maybe were my friends to begin with, and they gave me, that opened the door for me, but it's also people that have become my friends along the way. I'm very, very careful to know that you can never take advantage of that.
Right.
That is something that you need to leave your friendship over here, and you need to be professional and deliver on the other side, because your friend is in a professional setting and they have a job to care about. So my job is to make them look good, not for them to make me look good, right? I'm at a service to them.
Right.
So, in terms of, and because of that, Jeff, we are the name designer, especially in Japan.
Yes.
And so we have carved that out for ourselves, that in the pro cheerleading uniform, we are the name designer.
Yep. No, that's obvious. House of AKD has become ubiquitous, in my opinion, in that world. Obviously, people who aren't in that industry may or may not know it, but I know that anyone who is in the industry is very familiar with your work and greatly respects it for all the right reasons. And let's back up a second when it comes to relationships. You're here today with me because you and I have been friends for a long time. We've worked professionally together. We've had personal experiences together in terms of some of the events we've been to and just activities, and even just spending time together when we have an opportunity. Take me back to when you and I first met, and what do you remember about our sort of us getting to know each other?
Well, you're sort of a magnetic person. The people are drawn to you. You have a persona. You have a vibe about you. There's a certain joy about you that when you enter the room, people know you're there.
Well, thank you.
And it's true. And so when I think about way back then, because it was a way back.
Yes, it was.
In some ways, when people are talking about ladies, when they walk into a room, they might say, oh, they just sparkled up the room. They just brought a light into the room. So Jeff, you sparkled.
Well, thanks. I wasn't really looking for that. I just wanted to go back to how we met, and but that's very nice. Thank you.
Yeah. No, but the other thing is that we were both young, and we both had our eyes set on moving forward and being in this industry. We both cared about cheerleading. We cared about live events, and we mostly cared about people.
Right.
Which is why, too, your relationships, I don't know that there's anybody that you don't know. Every time I'm with you, you're like, oh, there's that person. And we could be in the middle of, I don't even know where. Everyone knows Jeff. I think we were both destined to stay in the industry and forge a path, forward.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I've learned a lot from you over the years, and I'm glad not only did we build this friendship, but we've stayed friends for a long time. And I know there are seasons in our lives where, I probably didn't see you for at least a few years, and then we reconnect again on some event or some reunion or something. But I feel like the last few years have been really, really strong. And now that I also have a house and family in Texas, I get an opportunity to see you down there as well. So that's wonderful. Yeah. Let's talk about your family a little bit. You not only have been very successful in this business, this industry, and building your reputation in a very positive way, but you've also built a beautiful family, and I know they're doing great and doing lots of things. But tell me a little bit about your family, to the extent that you want to share that, and then I want to extend that to the fact that they're all sort of spreading their wings and going to different places across the country, and we'll talk about some travel stuff in a moment.
Yeah. Well, 4 kids, 2 boys, 2 girls. My oldest has graduated college. He is working as chief of staff for a construction finance company, out of Denver. It's so nice to see him applying his talents and his intellect, into his work. My next son is an athlete at the University of Nebraska. He's on the track team there and doing really well and going to graduate next spring. My other daughter, she's in college at Baylor. She's on the water ski team there, and she's also in pageant. She was Miss San Antonio Teen USA. She's held multiple pageant titles. She does swimsuit modeling and some professional work in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
Then my last daughter she's a freshman at the University of Alabama. She just got started with that, so she's living her best life as a college freshman,
Right.
but she's also a recording artist. And so she's back and forth to LA, working with her record label. And it's really nice now because Nashville is really close to her. So she has the option with the record label to do things in Nashville and LA both. So they're all in different areas. They're all doing different things, and then they're all keeping me very busy.
Yes, I bet. Well, I travel quite a bit, and some people that I know think that I travel more than anybody that they know, but it's all relative, right? I feel like you're on the road twice as much as I am, at least. But I want to talk about relationships and being on the road. So some of these places are new for you. Alabama is new for you. I know LA is not, but Nebraska, Alabama, maybe even Baylor to some extent, right? I want to talk about how you, or even do you, concentrate, even if it's inadvertently, on building relationships in these new markets, in these new areas. And I don't necessarily mean for your business, but just how important is it to you to get to know people wherever you go?
It's kind of fun for me. So I don't, if it happens, it happens. Like I don't place a certain importance on it. Like I need to do that, but it's really
Mm-hmm.
fun that I do. Especially in Alabama, there was someone that we ran across each other on social media. She used to be a dancer out of Florida, but now she's in Tuscaloosa as a real estate agent, but she's got her own travel channel show. And so she knew I was going to be in town. She invited me to her screening. So going to that, I met a lot of local people that it's exciting to learn about the new town. You have people to ask questions to, or what about this? What about that? So it kind of happens naturally, but only if you put yourself out there to be able to go and do these things. In Nebraska, it's really nice because Garrett's a part of a athletic team. So you kind of have a built-in family there that, people know this, or you can go to dinner with this person because, when you enter the team aspect, you've got a built-in network that maybe you don't have other places. If your child is just kind of showing up, but it really happens naturally,
Right.
Even with the girls and their sports and at their colleges, just like in high school, whatever they're interested in, whatever they're a part of, those people kind of become your network. So the sorority moms, like you get to know some of those people.
Mm-hmm.
The people on the sports teams, like with the Baylor ski team, you get to know those parents. So it kind of happens naturally, but it's something that I am open to.
Right.
I'm not,
and you're energized by it, I would imagine, too. Energized by these new relationships. And you mentioned the word networking. I have a love-hate relationship with the word networking because it can be, first of all, it can be construed as so many different things. But sometimes it's also, some people take networking as, kind of as a business. Like I'm going to network, and so I can get something out of it, right? And I don't always like to think of networking as, what can I get out of this, as much as, how can I increase my my sphere of not just friends or possibly business associates, but just people where I can learn from or have fun with, or even learn things that I don't want to do. Right? I mean, networking can be very interesting. How do you define networking, and how important is that to you in your life?
Well, in my business, networking is a different story because I'm not in sales to just the open market.
Mm-hmm.
So me going to network at a Chamber of Commerce event, those are not my customers. That's not, so I strictly would do those sorts of networking kind of as self-fulfillment to get to know some people. But so networking for me is different. So in my business, I don't sell to the open market. So if I'm doing any sort of networking, it's probably just because I enjoy it or I want to just be involved in something, which is really, really nice because it takes pressure off of everywhere that I go. And so networking for me is really one-on-one relationships. Mm-hmm. So, I'll go to an NFL team and I will work directly with them. So that's my type of networking, is more one-on-one relationships than it is a room full of people and trying to reach out, and because we're not the normal type of sales.
Right.
We manufacture and sell to our customers. So, yeah.
Okay. So, who would you say has influenced you the most when it comes to your relationships? We can talk about business here or family. It doesn't really matter. But who would you consider some of the greatest influences on you from a relationship standpoint?
Yeah, I have a lot of them, because the beauty of my journey has been there's been someone along the way. And I'm always learning from the people that impress me. And it could be that I've learned from people that I used to mentor myself that are now in positions, and I'm learning from them. But if I go way back, Sharon Humphreys, who actually I work with now, but Sharon was a big part of my life through high school. And she was one of the vice presidents of USA and of Varsity Spirit back when it first started. And I just remember that was impressive to me. That was something I really loved in an industry I ended up in. Sharon really guided me. She also taught me the joy of working with people that I love, because she cared about other people, and she taught me how to do that too in the work environment. Michael Olmstead, he and Lori Ryan kind of picked me at age 17 to be a part of the San Francisco 49er cheerleaders at a time when they were creating a team. There was not auditions. It was a hand-picked situation. And I was fortunate that they saw some potential in me, and they picked me to be a part of that team. I was the youngest one at 17 years old. And their decision to take me and put me into that spot changed my life forever. Mm-hmm. So then it puts me, forward in the path of everybody that was in the cheerleading industry, and who the evolution of your professional life just by the people that you meet every day. And now, I coached the 49er cheerleaders for a time as well. And me being a coach and a mentor to those women that were the 49er cheerleaders at the time, they have gone on now and they have their careers. And I'm so impressed by a lot of them that they influence me.
Right.
And sometimes I call them for guidance, and I want to know, Tristan, what do you think about this? Or that they have such a powerful, and I say they because it's multiple of them. It's the group, and they all, at times have lifted me up or given me advice. There's people like Lisa Estrada with the Lakers, and she's a vice president now. But, we started on USA instructional staff together back in the 80s. Lisa and I are still good friends, but and I have worked for her and for the Lakers for years, but I learn from her every time I'm with her. There's something professional, there's something she says, there's something, and you just kind of glean off of everyone that's around you that's professional, and that makes you a better person.
Yeah, no, I can't agree with you more. And I am lucky enough to know many of these people, most of these people that you're talking about, because we did cross paths around that time. I was lucky enough really to see you in action directing the Gold Rush, 49er Gold Rush. And I feel like I learned a lot and actually grew a lot when I was working with you during that time. And it was amazing and fun nonetheless. So I hear what you're saying exactly. I know all those people you're talking about, and I just could not agree with you more. And I'm glad to hear that. just curious, sometimes there's maybe a negative side or not as glamorous side to networking or relationships, as we all know. But have you ever felt used by someone because of your position, your celebrity, your reputation, that sort of thing? You don't have to name names, especially if it's me. But if you if if you feel like you've ever been kind of used or felt uncomfortable in a situation, can you share that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, I have. And I think a lot of that comes from my nature to want to help people. I'm kind of a connector.
Mm-hmm.
I want to connect people. If somebody has an aspiration or something a goal, I want to help. And a lot of times, I'll help. And yes, and you definitely feel burned. You definitely feel like you've helped people get to do something that they've wanted to do. And they're like, bye, see ya. it it's happened, and if I gave too many details, it would definitely pick out people.
Yeah,
So I
I
won't
don't
do
need.
that.
Yeah, we
But
don't need that, obviously. But
yeah,
how did you handle it, or how would you handle it differently today, knowing or what you learned from that?
well, I have actually just kind of shut it down. So once you know what a person is capable of, or that a person can be manipulative, or those sorts of things, now I try to be better at recognizing it, and I just shut it down. I mean, it's nice, it's fine, but I have no reason to have an ongoing relationship about it. My Rolodex, the world of people that I work with every day are high level people. And it may be in my business.
Present
It
company
may be
excluded, you
because,
mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
it might be because of my daughter's record label.
Hmm.
I know a lot of people that are influential that can help people, and I've learned that you can't help everybody. It, you can't do it. So I've kind of just shut that down. I kind of ride, the wave on things like that. Um, so I've just learned to handle things differently,
Yeah. No, that's
handle
good.
people differently.
Yeah, and that comes with time and experience, and
Mhm.
activities that may or may not work out for you. So that's good. Can you tell me about a time when you actually took a risk and you asked somebody for help or access to something that would help you either personally or professionally? And maybe it was a little uncomfortable on your side, but when did you take a risk to do something like that?
It would have been, anything with the company, and the risk would have been asking people that I know, like the relationships that we have, to give me a chance in uniforms. That would have been early on.
Hmm.
And that's always very risky because you're never going to want to let the person who gave you the opportunity, you never want to let them down. So, you just put your word and your reputation and everything on the line that you're going to deliver. And so it would have been early on in the start of my company.
Okay. And were there ever any times when you feel like you had an opportunity to utilize? And when I say utilize, I don't like the word word use, because use can have a negative connotation. But sometimes there's an opportunity to utilize a relationship to help move you forward in something. And I don't care if it's personal, professional, familial, whatever. Um, but has there ever been a time when you've wanted to do that, but you've strayed away from it because you were afraid of how it would look, or you just didn't think you would get a positive response on that? And do you regret that at all?
I'm trying to think. I mean, this may sound bad, but things have always lined up. Things have always laid themselves out. And in a way that if that was the situation, it was comfortable to talk about.
Okay.
So I don't know that I've ever made any cold calls, or if I did, I don't remember it. Yeah.
Okay. So let's shift a little bit to travel. Um, Again, you love to travel. I love to travel. I know you do it both personally and professionally. What do you love about travel?
I like that it gives me a new experience. There's something enlightening about it every time. I love being in LA at our house near the beach, because the beach is some sort of it gives me a rejuvenation. It's where I like to say it's where I find God, because it's where I can be and I can hear the water, and so it just it refreshes me, it refreshes my mind. So for me, when I think about travel, that is where I love to travel. That's why we have a place. That's why I'm in LA so much. Aside from having a lot of business work out there, I enjoy food, restaurants. If I'm going anywhere, if it's one of the college towns, I'm immediately looking up, where's the restaurant? I want to have ambiance. You know, I want to have a glass of wine and sit in ambiance. So for me, for travel, it revolves around food and hopefully the beach or the water.
Yeah. No, that's great. I understand that completely. And because you know so many people all over the country and really around the world, but when you're traveling, um, do you make it a point to reach out to your folks out in these different areas, or do you like to kind of just do your own thing, or does it really vary? I'm assuming time is a factor. Sometimes if you don't have time to do that, but do you like you like that ambience, having dinner, going out, and having a drink? Do you like to reach out to your friends and or even business associates when you don't have to, and just spend time with them?
Well, because I enjoy all of those people. So yeah, time, you hit the nail on the head, because time is always the factor, because of demands on me time wise. I'm never really traveling for leisure. So if I'm flying in, let's say to Atlanta, I'm going into Atlanta. I'm flying in, I'm doing the work I got to do. I'm probably leaving the next day, because I've got to get back, because I've got an office to run. So time is usually the factor of why that I don't. It seems like when I'm in Los Angeles, it's a little bit easier to do, because my time out there seems to be longer, because there's so many different meetings to be had. But yeah, I try to if I can. But usually I'm out, and most people don't even know that I was in town until a lot later, and they're like, "You were here?" I'm like, I was there for 48 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I've been lucky enough to be in the same city with you when we both happen to be traveling at the same time, and getting together briefly, and that's always been fun for me. So I appreciate you making the time to do that when I reach out, or when we end up in the same place. So let's talk about fashion for just a moment. That's a big part of your business, but I know it's also been a big part of your life. When I vividly remember early on, when you and I were hanging out back in the late '80s. You loved to shop, and I would go shopping with you, and I was kind of in awe at the way you could just navigate a store and buy these cool things and look great doing it. And I don't know if you remember this, but I remember you even asking me to go out and shop for some of the girls for certain things, before a game or something. And I was like scared to death, because I don't have the fashion sense that you do. But tell me about just fashion and how important that is to you in your life, just in general, because you're always looking good. You're always making sure your teams look good. And I know it's not everything, but it's an image.
Well, thank you for that. And I will attribute all of that to my mother, because growing up, she made sure. And, back then my mom was she sewed.
And a
That's
lovely
not what she
woman,
did
Mary.
for.
I love your mother.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. And so she would make her own patterns. She would sew, in particular for my sister too. My sister probably more so, um, the dresses and things like that. And so my mom always made sure we were dressed, and it was always on our mind. Like, there's something coming up, what are you going to wear? How are you going to, all of that. So when, all through high school, it was always making sure that you presented yourself at the highest level that you could present yourself. It was a thought, something that it was always a thought. And so I think I've done that even for my girls, and hopefully my boys, I don't know, but for my girls, I mean, it's a definite thought. So fashion has always been a part of my life from a very young age, because of my mom. And it's almost innate because with my mom sewing and things, I know the names of fabrics. How do I know it? I don't know how I know it. I think I've always known it.
I do
How
too. That
do
one's blue. That one's got a pattern.
So yeah, so when it came to, I remember those years in San Francisco when we would go, and you and Dan and we would get, go shopping after work because I had to pick out something maybe for Sunday's game or
Hmm.
whatever it was. And yeah, you guys were always so nice to go with me. I think you were probably more afraid of me going by myself. You're probably there protecting me or just making sure nothing happened to me. But we got a lot of laughs out of
We
it.
sure did.
Those were
We
very
sure
good
did.
memories. Yeah,
Well, I will say
yeah.
too. I have a super beautiful wife, and I
Ursula's
will.
gorgeous. And someone who's always dressed to the T. Ursula, always.
Yeah, she always looks great, but I will say, early on in our relationship, I loved to buy her clothes, and I really learned that from watching you. Honestly, I don't know if I ever
Oh,
told you that, but that's true. I would go to stores with you. I'd watch you do stuff, in terms of making decisions on certain purchases, and it made me want to buy her stuff that looked really good. And she always wears stuff well. And what I picked out didn't always work for her. And sometimes it did, sometimes it didn't. But it was fun for me. But really, that came from my watching you shopping, and so it's always been kind of fun for me.
oh, well, good. Good, Jeff.
Yeah, I know.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
No, because Ursula, I mean, as long as I've known Ursula from when you guys were dating, I mean, she's beautiful,
Hmm.
but she's always been put together. I mean,
Yes,
she always looks really nice.
absolutely. Yeah,
So
I agree.
I'm not sure, if you're taking credit for that.
No, I'm not taking credit for that at all. It just,
I'm
my
kidding.
confidence grew, when I would shop with you to just help,
Yeah,
introduce new stuff to her. So that was kind of fun. Um,
yeah, yeah.
so let's talk about, advice. What advice would you give to someone regarding relationships and networking? And the word that always comes to mind for me is authenticity. But it's so natural for you. But I'm sure you've seen. Well, I know that I've stumbled many times when trying to build relationships with people. But what advice would you give to someone, to really build authentic relationships, for, again, business and personal?
Yeah, yeah, I mean, you really said it. Authentic. You can tell when it's not genuine.
Hmm.
You can tell when someone's heart isn't, you know, isn't pure in what they're trying to achieve. And relationship wise, you just have to care about people. You have to care about how what you're bringing to the table might influence them or might be a benefit to them. Because a lot of times it's a two-way street, even though you don't realize it. I mean, if someone is mentoring you and you think that you're gleaning all of the stuff from them, but there's probably a lot coming from you that is teaching them as well. So relationship wise, it has to feel right. And I, good or bad, I will shut down on relationships if I just don't feel that it's right.
Hmm.
And maybe part of that has come with age because there's just not enough time in the day. There's not enough emotional energy in the day for all of that. But so if I'm engaged, if I am reaching out, if I'm your friend, if I'm your mentor, it's because all of it is coming from a genuine part of me.
Hmm.
Because otherwise, everyone's busy. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's true. One thing I find interesting is, a lot of people, I know a lot of people, and knowing a lot of people doesn't necessarily translate into relationships necessarily, just because you know people, right? It can, and often it does. But what I've found interesting is, I don't think there's really very many people I've met over the years that I would not want to at least see again or talk to again, even if I just ran into them and, whatever. Not necessarily want to build long-term relationships with them, or we don't have something in common, or there's no real, impetus to do so. Um, but I don't know. I find that, you know, there are people that I run into in places that I may have met a long time ago, and immediately that connection comes back. I can't explain it. I know that's probably happened to you as well. You and I were just recently at a reunion for the USA cheerleading camps, and there were some people that I hadn't seen in years, but all of a sudden a spark came out in terms of like, oh my gosh, I remember, working these camps with these people, or going out to dinner with these people, or being on a trip on an event or something, and immediately that
Yeah.
that feeling comes back of an immediate connection. Whereas others, you worked with them and it just was what it was. I'm assuming you have that same kind of feeling, and then over the years, it never changes every time you see them.
Well, when you create bonds, in fact, just earlier today, I was communicating with Patty Carson, who Patty and I met. We were USA song leader instructors together, and then we were the first year on 49ers together. And Patty and I, this is just an example of a bond you create early on in your life, and you do your memories together, your travels together, the things that you did together that bonded you. And it could be years, but you never lose track of the bond and the memories you have with that part. It's a special part of your life.
Right.
Same thing with people you went to elementary school with or high school with that you had. There's a bond there that doesn't go away. And I think that's one of the things about the USA reunion that we were just at, and why you were saying you went into the room and there were so many people and that just brought you a life, a joy.
Mm-hmm.
That's so true. And that's because, and I think it's kind of unique to the years we were there on USA. We just happened to be in the clump of time that there were these people that were, I'm gonna use the word, they were stars, because maybe they were stars because some of them actually are stars,
right,
and celebrities, that sort of thing. But they were stars in their spirit
mm-hmm.
that gave to other people, and that's what I think we all remember and we bonded with was the hearts of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's unique to that group, though, because as I go around to different places or different times in my life, or normal people in everyday life,
Mm-hmm.
don't have those connections,
Right.
don't have those bonds. They don't have the friendships that are built on what we've built it on. I can't explain it. I've had friends say to me, I don't have those relationships. I don't have those kinds of, I may have people that I went to high school with, or I have people that I work with, but there's something about the time, our up and coming of those years, that's not common. Most people don't have that. And the support that comes with it, even on the 49er Gold Rush and the years that I was there with my teammates, but then as directing and the members that were on the team as I was coaching, there's a bond there, and it's thick. And you almost don't even have to reach out to say anything to anybody. Someone will just, I haven't heard from you in a while.
Mm-hmm.
How are things?
Yeah.
What's going on? I mean, that's just the world we come from. I mean, Jeff, you're like that to me. You'll reach out just to check on how things are going. There's a level of care there. There's a level of bonding there that I think is unique to our group.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right, and I do feel very, very lucky and blessed that I was part of that. And I always felt kind of an outsider because, I wasn't a cheerleader. I was a mascot. I wasn't from California. I was from Washington. I didn't start as a high schooler. I started in college, and I always felt like a real outsider with this group for many, many years. And I always kind of felt like, for better or worse, that I had to insert myself, and then always question, gosh, should I have done that? Do I really belong here? But I've gotten over that. I think over the years, I've really felt the love and the bond with so many of these people. And, and I'm a little bit unique, I guess, in that I reach out to people a lot more than people reach out to me. I don't know why that is. I guess maybe there's some insecurities there or whatever, but I just feel like, look, if you've made a connection with somebody, that's to me, what life's all about. It's more interesting to just stay connected than to not. I don't know. That's just maybe where I'm a little bit different than some people I know. Not everybody, but some people. So.
Well, it makes me smile to hear you say that because I'm like, whether you like it or not, Jeff, you were a part of us. Whether you liked it or not, you were there and we were making sure you were going. So,
Right.
yeah.
No, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Now, I also have been, I will say I've been lucky too, working for, there are not a lot of companies you work for where you have a reunion. Obviously, USA was one of those companies, but I worked at a company called Real Networks, and it is a technology company in Seattle where so many really interesting people were hired and working there over the years. And we all went through, some level of, turmoil, excitement, time frame in the technology world. That there was a really interesting bond built between those people as well. And we do an annual reunion with that company. It's the only company that I've really,
Oh, wow.
aside from USA, where and it's
Uh-huh.
totally different. With USA, we were traveling, we were spending days and sometimes weeks at a time together, at these camps and
Yeah.
overnights and dinners and that sort of thing. Whereas totally different with a company, but in some cases we traveled and did product launches or events, trade shows, etc. But we all went through. I think when you go through something together, whether it's something really exciting, really traumatic, really unique, or of the time, whatever that happens to be, you can build those bonds should you choose to do so. And I always found that really nice and heartwarming to do that. And then when I see those people, I just remember those times, even if they were challenging times. I just remember how we went through them together. I don't know. I'm, again, a little unique that way. Some people think I'm very strange that way, but I love that. And on that note, I will say, you know, my generation, we get made fun of a lot because Facebook is kind of for our generation, but I find that Facebook is really, really valuable to me and my relationships. Even if I don't stay directly in touch with people, I am floored by how many people will come up to me when I run into them somewhere and say, "Oh, it looks like you're having fun doing this," or "Oh, that looks cool. I saw that you visited Turkey. I want to learn about that." Or it's neat to see that you have a grandson, or whatever it is. And I didn't even realize they were paying attention. And so that makes me feel good too. But it also helps me stay connected when I do run into these people. It's pretty great.
Yeah, I think, Jeff, you've got one of those lives that people want to watch. They want to know what you're doing. Like I said, you're magnetic. You bring a light wherever that you go, and people are interested in that. They want to see, what's Jeff doing? Where's he at now? I mean, it seems like everything you touch turns to gold. And so people want to see, what's Jeff doing now? So no, I'm proud of you, my friend.
Well, thanks.
Total proud of you.
I don't know if that's all true, but thank you. It sounds nice. It sounds really good. But speaking of social media, I just want to. Well, this will be in the notes as well. But your Instagram handle is at just Angela King, and also at House of AKD. That's House _of_ AKD. So anybody that wants to follow Angela, who's paying attention to this, please do. She's fascinating. She's wonderful. She's a very good friend of mine. And, I don't know if you have any questions for me, but I just want to thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, Jeff, I'm so happy and proud of you, and so pleased to be a part of what you're doing with your podcast.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that. All right. Well, my friend, I'm sure I will see you soon. You have a great day, and keep doing what you're doing. It's amazing.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right. Take care.